3 little letters just detonated Meghan Markle's carefully constructed facade, and the Italian fashion world is watching the explosion in real time. HRH, Her Royal Highness. Those 3 letters appeared on Aquazura's official social media post, tagging Meghan at Kris Jenner's exclusive party, and what should have been a glamorous celebrity moment has spiraled into an absolute public relations catastrophe. The luxury Italian fashion house proudly showcased Meghan wearing their black tie sandal, their bow tie clutch, and their love link earrings, addressing her with full royal honorifics as though she still had any legitimate claim to that title. And folks, the fashion industry is about to teach her a very expensive lesson about playing both sides of the publicity game. Let us set the scene here because the details are absolutely critical. Aquazura did not just casually mention Meghan in a passing story. They went all in. They tagged her specifically. They listed every single item she was wearing from their collection, and they doubled down days later by promoting the exact same heels again. This was not accidental. This was not a social media intern getting carried away. Sources familiar with fashion house practices say this level of coordinated posting suggests a deliberate business arrangement, a deal struck behind closed doors where Meghan would wear the products and Aquazura would get the exposure. The timing of this post is what makes it so devastatingly revealing. This was the exact same party, the exact same night, the exact same event where Meghan and Harry allegedly checked a box refusing photo consent. The same occasion where photos were mysteriously deleted from Kardashian social media accounts within hours. The same gathering that sparked what the internet has gleefully dubbed Photogate. Yet somehow, miraculously, Aquazura got the green light to splash those identical images across their platforms with Meghan's apparent blessing. One fashion industry insider put it bluntly when they said the contradiction could not be more obvious if she had written it in neon lights. And they are absolutely right. You cannot simultaneously claim you refused all photo consent while authorizing a fashion brand to post professional quality images of you at the very same event. The math is not mathing, as the kids say, and the internet has noticed. Social media sleuths immediately began connecting the dots, and the picture they are assembling is not flattering for the Duchess of Sussex. But here is where Meghan's carefully orchestrated plan starts to unravel in spectacular fashion. What looked like a brilliant move, getting royal title recognition from a prestigious Italian fashion house while maintaining control over which images circulated, has backfired in ways she clearly never anticipated. The Aquazura post has become Exhibit A in the case against Sussex authenticity, and the fashion house is now finding itself dragged into a scandal they never signed up for. The timeline of events reads like a masterclass in celebrity damage control gone horribly wrong. Harry and Meghan attended Kris Jenner's party on a night that should have been completely unremarkable. The Kardashian machine, which has built an empire on documenting every moment of their lives, naturally captured photos of their famous guests. These images appeared briefly on Kardashian social media accounts, giving the world a glimpse of the Sussexes mingling with Hollywood royalty. And then, almost as quickly as they appeared, they vanished. People magazine, which many royal watchers have long suspected operates as an unofficial Sussex mouthpiece, rushed to explain the deletion. According to their reporting, Harry and Meghan had checked a box on a consent form indicating they did not want their photos shared publicly. The couple, we were told, had simply exercised their right to privacy, and the Kardashians had respected their wishes by removing the images. Case closed. Nothing to see here. Except absolutely everything about that explanation falls apart when you examine the Aquazura situation. Sources reveal that Harry and Meghan were polite but firm in their demands that the photos be taken down. One insider described the interaction as professional but unmistakably clear that nothing goes online without their explicit sign-off. Another person familiar with the situation said the Sussex team operates under a strict protocol where every image, every mention, every public appearance must be approved through their channels first. This is not casual celebrity privacy. This is military-grade information control. So here is the million-dollar question that nobody in the Sussex camp wants to answer. If Meghan and Harry genuinely refused consent for photos from this event, if they were so concerned about their image being shared that they demanded the Kardashians delete their posts, why did Aquazura receive permission to publish the exact same images? Why was an Italian fashion brand allowed to do what the most powerful family in reality television was forbidden from doing? The answer, according to those following this saga closely, reveals a calculated strategy that prioritizes brand building over the principles they claim to hold dear. Allow me to translate what appears to have happened here. Meghan wanted the exposure from a luxury fashion partnership. She wanted Aquazura's followers to see her dripping in their products, addressed by her royal title, looking every inch the Hollywood Duchess she desperately wants to become. But she did not want the Kardashians controlling the narrative. She did not want to appear in their content, on their terms, as a supporting character in someone else's story. The Kardashians have 100 million followers between them. Aquazura has a fraction of that audience but offers something far more valuable to Meghan: the prestige of European luxury fashion and the legitimacy of that HRH designation. One commentator summed it up perfectly when they observed that Meghan wants to eat her cake and have it too, except the cake is now smeared all over her face. The internet receipts are permanent, the contradiction is undeniable, and her carefully maintained illusion of consistent principles has been shattered. But the most troubling part of this revelation is what it exposes about the Sussex approach to truth itself. The double standard at play here is so brazen, so utterly shameless, that even Meghan's remaining supporters are struggling to defend it. On one hand, we have the official narrative pushed through friendly media outlets. The Sussexes value their privacy. They simply do not consent to having their images shared without approval. They are protecting their family from unwanted exposure. On the other hand, we have the undeniable evidence of Aquazura's post, complete with full royal title, detailed product placement, and professional party photography that Meghan clearly authorized. Let us be brutally honest about what this contradiction reveals. Meghan did not object to photos from Kris Jenner's party because she values privacy. She objected because she could not control how those photos would be used, who would benefit from them, and what narrative they would serve. When the Kardashians posted images, they were promoting themselves, their party, their brand. When Aquazura posted images, they were promoting Meghan, her fashion choices, her royal credentials. One served the Kardashian empire, the other served the Sussex agenda, and apparently, only one of those outcomes was acceptable. The HRH designation in Aquazura's post deserves particular scrutiny here. Multiple sources have noted Meghan's alleged obsession with maintaining her royal title despite having stepped back from royal duties. She technically retains the Duchess of Sussex title, but the HRH honorific is a far more contentious matter. The palace announced that Harry and Meghan would no longer use HRH after their departure, yet here is an Italian fashion house addressing her with the full royal treatment. One royal watcher commented that Meghan seems to want all the benefits of royalty, with none of the responsibilities, and companies like Aquazura are happy to play along as long as it serves their marketing. The theory gaining traction among those who follow Sussex coverage is devastatingly simple. Meghan selectively approved the Aquazura post because it served her personal brand-building agenda while rejecting Kardashian posts because they did not. She wanted the fashion credibility. She wanted the royal title recognition. She wanted to be seen as a luxury fashion icon worthy of Italian craftsmanship. What she did not want was to be a background character in a Kardashian Instagram story, just another celebrity face in a crowd of famous guests. Industry insiders say this level of selective approval exposes the fundamental hypocrisy at the heart of the Sussex brand. One source familiar with celebrity publicity described it as the most obvious case of having your cake and eating it too, that they have witnessed in 20 years in the business. The Sussexes built their entire post-royal identity on the concept of control, on doing things their way, on escaping the alleged constraints of palace life. But this time, their control-freak tendencies have exposed a double standard that even their most creative publicist cannot spin away. And what Meghan clearly did not anticipate was the tsunami of negative publicity about to engulf the very fashion partner she cultivated. Aquazura is now experiencing exactly what happens when you hitch your luxury wagon to the Sussex star, and the ride is anything but smooth. The Kris Jenner party drama has become inextricably linked to their brand in ways that no marketing team could have predicted or wanted. Every single headline about Photogate now mentions Meghan's outfit. Every article dissecting the consent form controversy references the black tie sandals. Every social media discussion about Sussex hypocrisy includes screenshots of Aquazura's now infamous post. The fashion house wanted celebrity endorsement. What they got was scandal by association. One fashion industry analyst described the situation as a textbook case of celebrity partnership gone wrong. The entire point of having a duchess wear your products is positive brand association. The idea that consumers will connect your sandals and clutches with glamour, sophistication, and royal elegance. Instead, Aquazura's products are now forever linked to controversy, hypocrisy allegations, and one of the most discussed celebrity PR disasters of the year. That is not the kind of brand awareness any marketing department dreams about. The coverage ratio tells the story in brutal clarity. For every article that might have mentioned Aquazura's beautiful craftsmanship or Meghan's elegant style choices, there are now 10 articles about the photo consent scandal, the Sussex control tactics, and the contradiction between their stated principles and their actual behavior. Sources within the fashion industry say this is exactly the opposite of what any brand hopes for when they partner with a celebrity. You want your product discussed. You do not want your product discussed as evidence in a public credibility trial. One insider close to Italian fashion houses put it bluntly when they said Aquazura is probably having some very uncomfortable board meetings right now. The exposure they received was massive, yes, but the context was catastrophic. Another industry observer noted that luxury brands trade on exclusivity and aspiration, and being dragged into messy tabloid drama diminishes both qualities instantly. The Aquazura name is now appearing in articles alongside words like controversy, scandal, and hypocrisy. That is brand damage that takes years to repair. What makes this particularly painful for Aquazura is that they did everything right from a traditional marketing perspective. They had a genuine celebrity wearing their products at a high-profile event. They posted professional content with appropriate tags and descriptions. They followed up with additional promotion to maximize engagement. The playbook was perfect. The problem was the celebrity they chose to execute it with, and the baggage she brought to what should have been a straightforward fashion moment. Sources now suggest the Italian fashion house is preparing to make some very difficult decisions about their future relationship with the Duchess of Sussex. The writing on the wall could not be clearer if it were spelled out in Italian leather. Commentary from multiple industry sources suggest Aquazura will likely never allow Meghan to merch for them again after this debacle. The term merching, for those unfamiliar with celebrity fashion culture, refers to the practice of wearing specific brands in exchange for products, payment, or promotional consideration. It is how celebrities and fashion houses have conducted business for decades. But Meghan may have just burned one of her most prestigious merching relationships to the ground. One fashion commentator stated flatly that no serious luxury brand wants their products associated with this level of drama, and the evidence supports that assessment. The Sussex connection has become genuinely toxic for any company attempting to maintain a sophisticated brand image. You cannot position yourself as aspirational European luxury while being dragged through Anglo-American tabloid mud every other week. The two brand identities are fundamentally incompatible, and Aquazura's leadership has surely realized this by now. The pattern emerging here is deeply troubling for Meghan's future fashion ambitions. This is not the first time her behavior has complicated a high-profile brand relationship. Just recently, she made what multiple fashion critics described as a damn awful appearance at a Balenciaga event in Paris. The reception was lukewarm at best, with observers questioning whether the legendary fashion house truly wanted her there or whether her presence was arranged through back-channel connections. One source close to the Paris fashion scene said brands are increasingly nervous about the Sussex Association because you never know what controversy is coming next. The blacklist is not a formal document that gets circulated through fashion houses. It is more subtle than that. It is unanswered emails. It is invitations that never arrive. It is products that are mysteriously unavailable when your team inquires. It is the slow, quiet closing of doors that were once flung open in welcome. Sources familiar with how the fashion industry operates say Meghan is likely to experience this gradual freezing out over the coming months, as brands quietly decide the risk is simply not worth the exposure. One industry veteran offered a devastating assessment when they observed that Meghan's fundamental problem is that she brings more heat than light. The attention she generates is undeniable, but it is increasingly negative attention, controversy attention, scandal attention. Fashion houses want their products photographed in moments of joy and celebration, not dissected as evidence in public relations disasters. The Aquazura situation has provided a perfect case study in why partnering with Meghan Markle is a gamble that rarely pays off. But the fashion fallout is merely one symptom of a much deeper crisis currently engulfing everything the Sussexes touch. The timing of this entire photo scandal reveals something far more damaging than mere hypocrisy about consent forms. The images were reportedly deleted because they surfaced around Remembrance Day, one of the most sacred occasions on the British calendar, a day when the entire nation pauses to honor those who gave their lives in service to their country. And while the royal family stood solemnly at the cenotaph, while veterans bowed their heads in quiet grief, while poppies were laid on memorials across the United Kingdom, Harry and Meghan were photographed laughing and mingling with Hollywood elite at a Kardashian party. Kim Kardashian herself later addressed the situation on her podcast, revealing details that paint a vivid picture of Sussex panic. According to her account, the couple's team went into immediate crisis mode when they realized the optics of the situation. Here was Prince Harry, the man who has built so much of his public identity around his military service and his support for veterans, caught partying in Calabasas while his family honored the war dead. Here was Meghan, who once claimed she knew nothing about the royal family, showing a stunning lack of awareness about one of the most significant dates on the British ceremonial calendar. Let that sink in for a moment. The Sussexes were so concerned about being seen having fun on Remembrance Day that they demanded photos be removed from the internet. They understood, apparently in hindsight, that the juxtaposition would be devastating. A party versus a memorial, champagne versus poppies, Hollywood glamour versus solemn remembrance. The contrast could not be more damaging if it had been deliberately staged by their critics. Billy Bush offered insight that cuts to the heart of how the Sussex operation functions when he described their team as operating in constant post-stress anxiety over every single image. This is not normal celebrity publicity management. This is something far more frantic, far more desperate. Every photo is a potential crisis. Every social media mention is a potential scandal. Every public appearance is a minefield that must be navigated with extreme caution. One commentator noted that living like this is exhausting not just for the principals but for everyone around them, and the evidence suggests that exhaustion is taking a very real toll. The Remembrance Day context transforms what might have been a minor celebrity photo kerfuffle into something far more serious. This is not just about consent forms and fashion brands. This is about judgment. This is about priorities. This is about understanding what matters and when. Sources close to royal watchers say the British public noticed the timing immediately, and the damage to Harry's carefully cultivated veteran champion image may be permanent. But the PR chaos from this single incident has now claimed yet another victim from their already decimated staff. The revolving door of Sussex publicity representatives has become such a notorious phenomenon that it deserves its own Wikipedia entry. Reports now suggest that the Sussexes lost their 11th publicist over this photo scandal debacle, adding another name to the growing list of communications professionals who have walked away from what should be one of the most prestigious accounts in celebrity PR. They have reportedly moved on to their 12th public relations representative, a turnover rate so unprecedented that industry veterans are genuinely struggling to find historical comparisons. 12 publicists. Let that number sink in. 12 professionals who presumably entered the Sussex orbit with optimism and ambition, who saw an opportunity to represent one of the most famous couples on the planet, and who eventually concluded that no salary, no prestige, no professional opportunity was worth what they were experiencing. One former employee of a celebrity PR firm described the Sussex account as the job everyone wants until they actually get it, and then it becomes the job everyone wants to escape. Sources who claim familiarity with the Sussex working environment describe it in terms that would make any human resources professional wince. One insider characterized it simply as hell, explaining that the constant panic over every piece of content, every social media mention, every paparazzi photo creates an atmosphere of perpetual crisis. Another source said the couple's need for control is so absolute that staff members feel like they are walking on eggshells every single day, never knowing what will trigger the next emergency meeting or angry phone call. The Kardashian connection in this latest scandal adds a particularly bitter irony. The Sussexes allegedly demanded their photos be removed from accounts controlled by the most successful publicity machine in entertainment history. You do not mess with the Kardashians when it comes to media management. They have spent 2 decades perfecting the art of controlling their narrative, monetizing their image, and turning every scandal into an opportunity. For the Sussexes to stumble into a publicity war with this family, even accidentally, shows a stunning lack of strategic awareness. One media analyst observed that the Kardashians handled this situation with characteristic brilliance. They complied with the Sussex demands publicly, while Kim later discussed the whole affair on her podcast, effectively getting the last word while appearing gracious and accommodating. The Sussexes, meanwhile, look like demanding, difficult, high-maintenance guests who cannot even attend a party without causing drama. This is the publicity equivalent of bringing a knife to a gunfight. Industry insiders are now openly questioning whether anyone, no matter how talented, can actually fix the Sussex brand at this point. While Meghan scrambles desperately for relevance in the celebrity ecosystem, Harry appears to have drifted into something resembling purposelessness. Multiple reports paint a picture of a man who has lost direction since leaving royal life, a spare who has become even more spare in the California sunshine. Sources describe him as apparently content being a stay-at-home dad while Meghan pursues her fame ambitions. But the word content carries more than a hint of sadness when observers describe what they see. Page 6 recently published a piece describing Harry's transformation with a headline that must have stung: "Royal warrior to sideline spare." The alliteration is clever, but the message is brutal. Here's a man who once served 2 tours in Afghanistan, who founded the Invictus Games for wounded veterans, who seemed to have found genuine purpose in military service and charitable work. Now he is photographed looking lost at celebrity events, standing slightly behind his wife, appearing uncertain about his role in any given situation. The physical toll of this new existence is becoming impossible to ignore. Multiple observers have noted that Harry looks 10 years older than he did when he left the United Kingdom. The California lifestyle that was supposed to rejuvenate him, that was supposed to free him from the constraints of palace life, appears to be having the opposite effect. One commentator described him as haggard Harry, noting that the sunshine and freedom have not translated into the happiness and vitality that were promised. Another observer put it more bluntly, saying he looks like a man who has realized he made a terrible mistake, but cannot figure out how to undo it. What makes this transformation particularly poignant is the contrast with the purpose-driven Harry of just a few years ago. This was a prince who had found his calling in supporting veterans, in raising awareness about mental health, in using his platform to genuinely help people. Now, his most notable public appearances involve standing next to his wife at fashion events, looking uncomfortable at Hollywood parties, and being photographed in contexts that seem to diminish rather than enhance his reputation. Sources close to those who observe the couple suggest Harry has essentially ceded control of their public strategy to Meghan, and the results speak for themselves. Every decision seems calibrated to serve her celebrity ambitions rather than his charitable interests. Every appearance prioritizes her fashion partnerships over his veteran advocacy. Every controversy stems from her need for control rather than any initiative he has pursued. One insider put it devastating when they said Harry used to be the star of his own story, and now he is barely a supporting character in hers. But perhaps the most damaging revelation emerging from this entire saga is what insiders are saying about who is really pulling strings behind the scenes. The fingerprints of Kris Jenner are becoming increasingly visible on Meghan's celebrity rehabilitation attempts, and the implications are fascinating. Speculation has mounted that the Kardashian matriarch, often credited as the mastermind behind her family's media empire, has been quietly advising Meghan on her Hollywood strategy. The connections are too numerous to dismiss as coincidence, and those who study celebrity power dynamics say the pattern is unmistakable. Consider the evidence that observers have assembled. Meghan's recent Balenciaga appearance in Paris connects directly to Kim Kardashian's well-documented relationship with the fashion house. Her interview on Emma Grande's podcast raised eyebrows when people discovered that Grande works for Skims, Kim's shapewear company. The Kris Jenner party invitation itself suggests a level of relationship cultivation that goes beyond casual acquaintance. One source familiar with Hollywood networking described it as classic Kris Jenner mentorship, teaching someone how to leverage every connection for maximum exposure. Kim Kardashian's handling of the photo controversy deserves particular analysis. She publicly described having a sweet relationship with Meghan, using language that was gracious and warm and completely unsuspicious. She complied immediately with the request to remove photos, playing the role of accommodating host perfectly. And then she discussed the entire situation on her podcast, ensuring that her version of events would be heard by millions of listeners. The Kardashians stayed kind while putting the Sussexes firmly in their place. This is masterclass level media manipulation, and Meghan was completely outmaneuvered. The irony here is almost too perfect. Meghan allegedly sought out Kardashian connections to help rehabilitate her celebrity image, to learn from the family that turned reality television into a billion-dollar empire. Instead, she has provided them with content, with drama, with a story that makes the Kardashians look reasonable and gracious, while making the Sussexes look demanding and difficult. One entertainment industry veteran observed that the student just got schooled by the masters, and it was not even close. What the Kardashians understand, and what Meghan apparently does not, is that modern celebrity requires a lightness of touch. You have to be in on the joke. You have to demonstrate self-awareness. You have to make people want to root for you rather than demanding their respect. The Kardashians have weathered scandals that would have destroyed other families precisely because they understand this fundamental truth about public affection. Meghan, with her consent forms and photo removal demands and royal title insistence, comes across as the opposite of relatable. The question consuming entertainment industry observers now is whether Meghan can survive being the least liked celebrity in America. The numbers have arrived and they are absolutely devastating. Recent polling on celebrity likability placed Meghan Markle below Sean Combs, the disgraced music mogul facing the most serious allegations imaginable. Let that extraordinary fact settle into your consciousness. A woman who was welcomed into one of the world's most famous families, who had access to platforms and opportunities that most people can only dream about, who could have charted any course she chose, has somehow managed to become less popular than a man whose reputation has been destroyed by criminal accusations. This is not just bad publicity. This is a spectacular collapse of public goodwill that defies easy explanation. The Aquazura situation encapsulates everything that has gone wrong with the Sussex brand strategy. Here we have a couple who left the royal family allegedly seeking privacy and authenticity, yet who obsessively control every image that appears online. Here we have a woman who claims to reject the constraints of palace protocol, yet who demands fashion houses address her with royal honorifics she technically should not be using. Here we have a team that demands photo removal from one source while authorizing identical images from another. The contradiction is not subtle. It is not ambiguous. It is a flashing neon sign advertising the gap between their stated values and their actual behavior. Billy Bush offered perhaps the most incisive assessment of Meghan's fundamental problem when he observed that her issue is authenticity itself. She is force-feeding a fake image to a public that has become extraordinarily sophisticated at detecting inauthenticity. In an age of social media, where audiences have seen countless celebrities caught in contradictions, where verification tools exist to expose inconsistencies, where the internet never forgets, the old playbook of manufactured personas simply does not work anymore. People can smell falseness, and they are smelling it in overwhelming quantities from Montecito. Every fashion house that might consider partnering with Meghan is watching this disaster unfold in real time. Every brand contemplating a Sussex collaboration is noting the Aquazura experience as a cautionary tale. Every potential business partner is calculating whether the attention Meghan brings is worth the controversy that inevitably follows. The blacklist is forming not through formal communication, but through the quiet consensus of professionals who have observed enough to reach identical conclusions. She is too risky. She is too controlling. She is too likely to generate the wrong kind of headlines. The question that hangs over everything now is whether Meghan possesses the self-awareness to recognize that her obsession with control is the very thing destroying her brand. Will she understand that demanding photo removal while authorizing identical images elsewhere exposes her principles as performative rather than genuine? Will she realize that fashion houses want association with aspiration, not scandal? Will she learn that the Kardashian playbook only works when executed with the self-deprecating charm that makes that family ultimately likable? Or will we witness yet another fashion house quietly distance themselves, yet another publicist resign in frustration, yet another chapter in the ongoing Sussex spiral? Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you will not believe what is coming next.